What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm the Reel Jussy.
I'm Peter Parkour.
I'm JustZack.
And we are the Distorted Theorists. So, guys, welcome back to episode 3 of Critical Reroll. We've had some fun doing these already, but before we get into this, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We're trying to grow the channel, and if you like Critical Reroll and want to keep seeing us do these episodes, we would appreciate it. And today, we are getting into episodes 11 to 15, which had a lot packed into them.
There's a lot.
God.
There was
Episode 13 alone.
It's funny because this span of episodes had some lulls, but it had some massive storytelling by Matt Mercer and just paying attention. But let's start from the beginning. Episode 11 opens up on Ira Wengoth, who is
Gross.
The Nightmare King. The Nightmare King. But she, that we find out that Armand is footing the bills for all these whatever she's building, or he, I don't even know if there's a gender on this thing.
King.
Yeah, fair enough.
Guys, come on. It's 893 PD.
Yeah.
It can mean anything.
But I mean, fair enough. But we go right into a battle with the Nightmare King, who is already... what's the attack that he does that hits everyone? I know it did some massive damage. I don't know what the... What's the word I'm looking for? The
area
energy
of attack?
Yeah, what kind of fire? Is it acid? It's something that just pulses out.
He was going at the end of the fight. He was going to use something that looked like it was acidic, but then he looked at Fern and said, I don't know, you've given me an insight to this.
Yeah,
yeah.
That was mostly because he said he recognized her. She was smelled familiar.
Yeah, that was towards the end. It smelled like a Callaway.
Also saying he saw you look at Fern before leaving, kind of thing. And no, maybe not.
You smell like home.
But even before he gets a chance to dip, we do finally locate Gurge, who is some kind of beast. He's a person at this point. But he is caged.
Naked in a cage.
But he does transform into
a werewolf.
He's
a lycanthrope.
So lycanthropes, are they common in the D&D world or in these campaigns with Matt Mercer, or
it's not? I don't think it's the first time we've seen one in the campaigns. I might be wrong there, but I mean, lycanthropes are common. They're not common, but it's a curse. We've seen were-people in campaign 2, but they were were-bears.
Grog fight one?
I know there's a were-bear in campaign 2. I don't know if were-bear. There's a couple were-bears actually in campaign 2.
But speaking of werewolves, one of the funniest things, you got this big battle going on, and then you have Travis Willingham, you have Chetney I slowly take off a piece of clothes.
I was like, is he going to go invisible?
No, but what does he do, which kind of struck me off guard, maybe not yourself, but...
He's an itty-bitty werewolf.
Yeah, he's a little white werewolf.
But he digs into himself or something.
He's a blood hunter.
Blood hunter, there you go.
Blood hunter.
And what is, tell the viewer, what is a blood hunter?
So blood hunters are actually a class that Matt Mercer developed originally. It's in campaign 2, Molly Mock is a blood hunter of a different kind. He does not turn into a werewolf.
Okay.
But the idea is that basically you use blood curses. So there's a couple different subclasses, but one of them is the lycanthrope class, where you use your curse of your werewolf curse to basically transform. There's different rights you can impact, so his weapons can glow and deal frost damage or light damage depending on the rights you take.
Okay.
You can do blood maledict, which maybe that's more specific to
a lot to it then.
Molly Mock. You can make people go blind. But the idea is that you basically the idea is that you take damage to do shit. So you cut yourself to...
So does he take hit points when he does that? I can't even remember.
He does. He rolls a d4 or something like that usually to enact things. I don't know if it's required for the werewolf transformation, but for any spells and stuff he does.
In the first campaign that I played in, we had a character like that. They had to hurt themselves in order to do something like that because they dealt with a lot of blood stuff. That was really cool.
Yeah. It's neat. You get to do cool stuff and you can make it stronger by taking more damage. So that's
And it's the not a min-max, it's a trade-off, the trade-off or whatever.
And here's the thing, when that happens, it doesn't take long at that point for Ira to get the skittish. And Ira basically takes one of those blue glowing things, she shoves it in the machine, or he activates it, and that's when she says, the Callaway, and basically dimension doors.
Juice.
Yeah, one thing we kind of skipped over was in the beginning they were looking for volunteers, basically. They were saying, who wants to volunteer as a subject.
3 volunteers, wasn't there? There were 3 volunteers.
So where was the other 2?
Because there was the weird slug things, I think, they were over the side, and then there was Gurge, and then, that's when, Chetney was being like, I'll volunteer for you, and then like taking off his clothes and being like weird.
But Gurge wasn't a volunteer.
Well, he was looking for subjects.
Yeah,
so like,
right. So there were, I think, weren't there 3 volunteers to get bitten by Gurge?
Yeah, so I think
maybe that's what
two.
it was. Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah,
There's not another 2. There's 3.
Or maybe
because Chetney came. Well, we find out later.
Yeah.
He didn't get bitten by Gurge. He came to Gurge for help.
And we also did learn that the Nightmare King is responsible for the sentient furniture because he also caused a blue glow.
Right, because there was furniture in this room
and the
as well.
table started attacking people in front
So that's
of
what I'm saying. These pieces started to come together due to meeting Aaron and Nightmare King. But when our band of heroes gets too much for him, he dimension doors out of there as this thing is like that. He's just
he
pulsing.
Knows Fern is from the Fae.
Yeah, and
she knows.
Not just that she's from the Fae, that he knows her grandmother.
The
family name.
Maury
or something like that. Yeah. Nana. But Ashton kind of pulls the ripcord and says, guys, we got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And they leave as the moon tower literally explodes with blue aura, I guess we'll say. And, well, luckily none of our team was injured at that time, which worked out to be well.
They also freaked the shit out of some guards by pretending that the place was haunted with Laudna.
I think that was when they went back, though, was it not?
So, Laudna initially, in episode 10, yes, Laudna had done that.
Right,
because that's how they were trying to get back in.
Right.
Because initially, when they first went in there, that was when Chetney kind of like had to sneak in or whatever. He goes like, oh, we're going to do this stuff, and they get zapped or whatever. So then when they go back, they were like, well, we're all going to go down this time instead of getting the little helper to help them out. They were like, well, we've got to go in. And the Wilders or guards were like, what's going on? So Laudna just goes, ring girl. And we're like, ah! And she rolled really high on it. And
but like and again, this is another thing. You introduce another NPC, Gurge, who propels a potential a new storyline does open up. He talks about the Gorgonai, who are like werebeasts, so that could give Chetney some insight into who he needs to talk to, like how he became who he is.
We were told that the idea that Chetney was looking for him was for work, and what we actually find out is that he was attacked.
He's looking for answers.
In Tal'Dorei or Wildmount, I can't remember where he's from, but Gurge is from Wildmount.
Yep.
And he came here and trained with these people to kind of gain control of his curse.
But the weird thing is, Chetney spent all this time looking for Gurge, and then Gurge kind of was like, I don't really want to help you. I mean, you can talk to Ajit Dail if you want more answers going forward.
What we know of Gurge is that he was a wild man and very much a solo person, like lone wolf, if you will.
I feel that if Gurge had said, yeah, I'll help you, then that would almost been a segue for Chetney to leave and then do with that. And then his story wouldn't really matter anymore. But at least when he goes, figure it out on your own, we're like, okay, this is something that we're going to look further down the road with.
But again, and speaking of that, decisions, we find out that those werebeasts are from, or the ties to them are from the Heart-to-Heartmoor Hamlet at that point. Or, on the other hand, Esteros' ball, where we find out where Armand Treshy, who is potentially behind things, is going to be. So the group must make a decision, and ultimately they don't go to the Heartmoor Hamlet because that's going to be a bunch of days' travel.
And they still have a bunch of figure out.
But that may come down
Ashton's, because that's Ashton's thing.
Right, and that might come out later, but instead they decided they're going to go to the ball.
That's Ashton's thing, and
the reason why they're going to the ball. Sorry, go ahead.
It's Orm's thing too, isn't it? At the Heartmoor Hamlet.
I believe so. They're looking for like the twins, the Lumos twins.
Well, no, because we know that the Lumos twins have perished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they kind of find out. They end up going to that bathhouse. Oh my god, I forget the name of it. It's on the Diamond Horizon or something.
Diamond Horizon, yeah.
And they go to this bathhouse, and that's where they start to find out stuff about the Lumos twins and what was it, Balin and what was the other one's name? Zara. Man, who comes up with these names? I don't know. We're trying to piece it all together. But that's where you find out then that Imogen is like, okay, well, I still need to find out about my past. And there's a retired astronomist, and then she wants to learn about these storms still, so everyone still has their own mission that they're trying to, and we're leading up to this ball where things will get tangly, and we'll get to that in a second. But what is she expecting to learn by going through these books? What would it?
Nothing. anything.
He's saying nothing. He's saying anything. So
well, she expects to find nothing in anything to because she doesn't know why this happened. It was part of the reason why she left was because her father. She never mentioned her mother.
Right.
Her father never mentioned her mother, and she always felt that she was a burden upon her father because she was dealing with all these freaky episodes.
Yeah.
So when she manages, at the behest of Lord Eshtarosh, to get
why
her
she
passion,
group with him in the first place.
she wanted to get into the conservatory or observatory, whatever it is.
Yep.
So she gets in, is able to kind of go through her stuff. And she finds out.
She finds a book.
She finds the book, and that there's a number of people that experience these dreams about these storms and the kinetic powers. They are on a 30-year cycle, and it seems like more of this stuff is happening. And I mean, given how old her mother would have been, and how old Image is now, she's probably late 20s, almost 30.
Yeah.
So things could be gearing up at this point, because she finds out. I mean, I just kind of gave it away, but her mother was one of the subjects that was being studied by Professor Khadija Sumal. I got cheat sheet here. I'm looking at that. But anyways,
but she did. Her mother's name, Liliana Tumult, was written in the book.
Yeah,
and it's a bit going off on episode 12. We find out that her mother also was investigating these red storms. So
but
So
was she investigating, or was she?
She was a subject.
Yeah. Oh, was she a subject? I took it as she rented, she took out the book.
So the people that last checked out the book were the Lumos twins, and they actually ripped out a page from the book.
Oh, I must have crossed my words. Okay, so cool. It's all
so that's kind of where why they're looking to that. And the Lumos twins are actually the people that
I'm trying to figure it out too.
The anger was responsible for guarding.
Yes.
And then, so do you think Lumos twins were killed because they were investigating these red storms, or the telepathy?
Yeah.
And that's not even something like in terms of to extrapolate. There's no way. There's so little information about this that's given because we're kind of focusing on bigger things at this point that it's never really explored. Now we know that Matt is going to take the time to explore everybody's backstory as well. Yep. So we are going to get to know a little bit more about Liliana, the Lumos twins.
I hope so.
The professor,
I really do.
Like that. And it kind of gives an endpoint because the professor that was mentioned before, Khadija, or whatever her name, their name was
Khadija Samal.
They are going to be they work out of the seminary. In a city of, I can't say it, Yios.
What you said earlier?
So that's going to be a part where they kind of have to.
I assume they'll travel there, maybe. Talk to this Kamaja person or whatever. But from there, so we're coming off this battle with Ira. We still kind of riding the high with this storm. Oh, the mother was involved and whatever. Then we switch gears. We kind of go back to, the Trove of Marwa, where, things can be purchased again. Like you said, there's always stores and that. And I believe
shopping episode.
Ladna got something. It was like a blood vial or something. So it matches.
There was this weird the weird ship thing that like Mrs. Basically had trash
inherited from her father.
Very sensitive about being called trash, but yeah.
But it is. But when it comes when it comes to the Bloodwell vial +1, Matt says, okay, add that to your inventory. Enlighten me and maybe Peter. What does that mean? Like, what do you do with your character there? Like, what does a Bloodwell vial +1 mean? Like,
it's
like say the picture on D&D Beyond, you're adding it to your inventory.
So you just be adding a magic item in your inventory. So this would be just like an add-on that you can. I don't know. I believe it requires attunement.
Okay.
But basically, it just adds a +1 to the saving throws, maybe the attack rolls, but definitely the saving throws to her sorcerer spells.
Okay. So that's interesting. Like, it's cool that you can add inventory partway through a story and stuff. And maybe there'll be more down the road, obviously.
Yeah.
But to find stuff like that, we do get some background in the interim while we're waiting for, like I said, things start to calm down a little. We do learn that FCG's former group was called the Division of Public Benefit. So you take this one because I know you're invested in the FCG. Why are we getting all this?
Well, the thing is, because we still don't know a whole lot about FCG. I'm still staying by my theory that he was once human and has now had his consciousness trapped in an automaton.
You said in the last episode.
But how we're going to figure this out, it's just going to have to happen naturally. But Imogen, there was something that happened during the fight with Ira that
Was it when he turned into a turtle?
Well, he was polymorphed, and you can only polymorph living things. You can't polymorph dead or inanimate objects.
So that was like
an automaton is technically an inanimate object. It's just powered by electricity or whatever magic is keeping it going.
Yeah.
Whereas if he was polymorphed into a turtle or anything else, he's got to have some spark of life in him, really and truly. So Imogen has to decide, well, can I detect thoughts on you? She tries it. Now, it does work to a point, and it doesn't, and there's some unresolved trauma that he goes through, and then at the very end of it, when everyone was like, oh, that was interesting, Matt leans over to Sam and says, okay, Sam, take 2 points. Well, that's it.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, what do you think that means? Or
memory blockage. Maybe he has to perform certain things in order to get you have to do 10 points of memory blockage before you can actually access this memory. So maybe this was something that you've got 8 points now.
But he will never know till it happens, and then Sam Riegel will be like,
well, I think Sam knows.
Oh, you think so?
But I don't think he can reveal it to anybody else.
Fair enough.
It could be something like
that's a bit of diversity too, to the character and from player to role play, right? So
and maybe Sam doesn't know. Maybe Matt's got something that's probably like, this is what it was. I've got the trauma. I'll let you know when.
Yeah.
And does the whispers.
He might just tell them how they're supposed to respond. Whispers. When they were asked about his past, where he's from, he's like, Dancer created me. He just kept giving the same glitchy answer every time. I feel like that was Sam was responsible for he knew that's how he should respond.
Yeah.
But he didn't know why. Maybe.
So again, we're getting more background, and then we find out Imogen wants to help Ladna with her Briarwoods and Whitestone from the Vox Machina era.
They didn't work very well.
But she says something about breaking a pact with something, you'll lose your power. So could there be a potential Ladna sacrifices herself maybe in some capacity at some point in the campaign?
You go first.
I was like, Warlock packs are very hard to break.
So that's the thing, Warlock pack.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. See?
Warlocks gain their ability by making a pact with some kind of powerful being, whether it is a demon, a being from who knows where, an ancient god, like in Campaign 2, or a dead, maybe Delilah Briarwood.
Yeah.
So once a pact is made, though, it's very hard to break because you're basically exchanging they get power over you in exchange for you gaining power. So you can't just be like, I'm done.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
You did that with me in a one shot.
Yeah.
You did that with Lonnie.
Yeah.
With that spear.
Yeah.
I got the spear. Yeah, but the spear's going to hurt you if you don't do it. I can kill you. Oh.
Yeah. The spear did not like you.
No. So unless you express fealty towards the god. So I had to do that in order to go on and get the power and be able to attune to it. But in this case, where I gave you the power, I can easily take it away. This is where we mentioned before, yes, okay, trademark Horcrux by the Wizarding World of J.K. Rowling, but my theory is that in whatever realm, she was dead, or Ladna was dead, and then the spirit or whatever, or
brought her back.
Brought her back and said that I'm keeping you alive in some way, shape, or form. And her powers that she's got are essentially what's keeping her alive.
Well, she had to do Delilah, assuming, bidding at some point.
Well, there is a means to an end, but I think she might just do something. I was like, okay, you're not going to do it, and she'll just leave Laud, and Laud was
Well, that's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm wondering.
I do appreciate with Mersha's RPing her leveling up is that she's trying to get better as her, because she's a warlock sorcerer, and she's trying to develop her own powers. Because she said she always had a little bit of magic, but then the whatever D is came inside of her. Yeah. And then
but I just got it. This is a PG show, ladies.
I didn't not intentional when I first started saying it.
to clue up episode 12, I'm not gonna lie, we discussed off camera. I mean, there was a lot of getting ready for the ball. There was picking out costumes.
We didn't even plan why they're going to the ball yet.
Yeah, but and we are gonna get there, but we're not gonna touch on that. But one thing I do want to note is Ashton's decision to make a mask for the ball, because it is like a masquerade type thing. He makes it in the image of the Nightmare King.
And not even the mask. He made a full body costume.
Yeah.
He made a gimp suit.
So it's weird that he would choose. It's weird.
Honestly, that's what I pictured.
I'm sure it's Taliesin being Taliesin, but it's weird that he would choose that when he is about to go to the ball, which is going to have Council of Chande Corum and all this other stuff. Gavis Aranda's going to be there. You're going to have the Armand Tressy's going to be there. So why would he do that?
Because he's a dick.
Well,
because he's a dick. That's what his character is. His character is a dick.
I think he was just trying. He is trying to get a rise out of people, but he's trying to see who gets a rise out.
But that's what it is. He's doing this, and again, I'm not saying like PP doesn't like it. And I'm like, no, like Talison's character is fine. It's just he's a dick. He's an asshole. Like, and that's what his character is. So in terms of doing this, he's like, well, this disturbs people. See if I give a fuck. And he goes and does it.
I also did find it funny that they all made their own masks. That's the whole thing why they went to the market in the first place. And then they got to Estras's house, and he's like,
here, I made your mask.
He's like, oh, close the trunk.
Yeah. Oh, you're not going to use mine. Fine.
Yeah, funny. But after all that hoopla settles down, we get into episode 13. We are at the ball. Before I even get into this, there's going to be a lot of names, whatever. But I gotta say, Matt Mercer's ability to keep track of NPCs in this episode is astounding.
It's an absolute masterclass.
It's an art. It's an art form that he could do this. So that was. I mean, you got General Ratanish, you got Lord Preston Drodeline or whatever his name. You got Lady Emaf Kate is floating around. Armand Tressie, Headmaster Grizz Alcabaz or whatever his name is. You're right. You got all these people, and somehow Matt Mercer knows where each one
not
is.
Not even just the number of these NPCs, but the fact that the players.
Interrupting
they did this.
Yeah,
into the party.
You got members of General Ratanish is the leader, we'll say for our argument's sake, of the Paragon's Call, which is the group we discussed in the last episode.
Finally get to kind of know a little bit about that.
Right, and we will get there in a second. Then we got Lady Emaf Kate. Not going to dive right into it at this second, but as you know, she has much bigger part to play in this storyline coming up soon. And then the rest are, I don't want to say they're throwaway characters by no means, but the interactions are pass and go, touch and go,
Lord Preston Drodeline, for one, is an amazing, amazing callback because he is the Lord of the Crossroads.
Yeah, what does that mean? I know that's got something to do with the...
That was from the Search for Grog, too.
No, that was... Well, kind of. So it's campaign 1, they had a time skip where basically they all went and did their own kind of thing.
Right.
Part of this is that Grog had a deck of many things. For those of you who do not know, that is a very, very dangerous object because you can draw a card and you can literally say the world blows up.
Okay.
Or and that's kind of what leads into the search for Grog as he draws another card. So they drew one and it was dangerous. So then Grog wanted to go find basically he was by himself and told Pike he would never ever draw a card. And so he found someone else to draw a card for him.
Okay, so he's doing a loophole.
Yeah, and so as this was literally just some bum in the street, and he drew a card and he said, "I wish I was like Lord of the Crossroads," and he transformed from being a drunk bum to being Lord Preston Drodeline, who a card came up like Lord of the Crossroads. He basically gained the wish spell is what that card was.
Oh, so
Grog gave away a really good. I was like, maybe this isn't so bad, and that kind of turned into why the sort of Grog happened later. But that was just such a funny small mention.
But he's not necessarily going to be a throwaway. He's a throwaway character almost for this episode. He had a great interaction with Fern. But
bit of flirtation.
A bit of flirtation, yes. But throughout this interaction, he mentioned, "You'll have to come visit me in," I believe it's Yios.
Okay.
Which I just mentioned.
Yeah. So
when Imogen eventually has to go and figure what's going on with the Red
So
Storm
do you think that's almost like Matt? Just a little nudge.
Yep.
Yeah, you should go there.
Well, now they've got a place to stay.
Right, exactly.
Fern's going to have a huge interaction with Lord Preston, so it sets up the Airbnb.
Are they going to hook up?
Fern was willing to hook up with Pretty the Ogre, so...
Yeah, true. So, at this point...
That's what you do at the end of the day.
So the ball is in motion. At this point, I'm going to say Matt Mercer for this point is juggling 8 characters of playable characters. Then you're juggling about 5 to 6, 7 non-playable characters.
Yeah, Cyrus included.
That's right. Then the Dance of the Crossroads begins, which I assume is a made-up dance name and tango that Matt, again, come up with off the top of his head. And on top of all that, you got our party trying to steal the ring from Armand Tressie and put a new ring on his finger that traps him.
We skipped over that was why they were going to a ball, by the way.
No, I'm telling them now. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to culminate everything here.
Armand Tressie is Tressie was responsible for that wall that ate people.
Right. So you have all these working parts, and I don't understand how he juggled it. But in the end...
It worked.
It worked.
It was flawless.
Through all the passing and the dancing and the persuasion... The ring comes off. We have a nice fun. I call it like a movie sequence where the ring gets kicked across the floor and then the cat hits and the dog hits it.
Yeah, Laura was incredibly stressed the entire time.
Yeah, Miss Bailey was very...
Oram that either.
But, but while all this is going on, as you kind of touched on as well, we have Cyrus Wyvernwind is in the party.
Yeah.
He's working.
Again, out of nowhere, and he is with Lady Ema. First of all, I don't know if do we ever really get an answer of why those two are together at this event? I don't know if we
She was the one that's been helping him, or like he owes her a favor.
He was working with Lady Emoth in order to the end game of whatever she was working towards, and needed assistance in. There was treasure, so he would have gotten a cut of the treasure that would help pay off the bounty of 20,000.
And we are coming up on in a few minutes. Lady Emoth, but how does he not notice her changes?
Well, no one really did besides
because she was fine at the beginning. She was fine. Of the thing. She just came in holding onto the arm of her mom.
Using his wolf senses could smell it was he smelled like perfume covering up body odor.
But it is Chetney once again who discovers that Lady Emoth has she has similar traits to our old buddy Duggar, and it makes.
And she makes that very abundantly clear.
Chetney wouldn't have known who Duggar is because
we knew the audience. Again, using the critical reroll, we are in the role of the viewers, and that's why I like about this show and why we do this for you guys. Is what were you thinking when Lady Emoth started to? Transform?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what that stinky house from Duggar's house,
and that's actually where we leave off on episode 13, and of course episode 14 once again leads us right into. Sorry.
You're still missing something. You're missing the Ashen fight.
Yeah. No, Lady Emoth is getting set up. Yeah. But while this is happening, this is something that, if I may, throw it over to Zach. Yeah. Is Ashton and General Ratanish had a fisticuffs? Yeah. Little slap in the duel.
We still don't really know why the General came over and was offended by the mask. Yeah, he was the reaction that Ashton, I guess, was looking for. Came from the General, who was. He was a Goliath, right? Unless the Paragon's Call have dealings with
the king, and we don't know about it.
We don't know why he knows who this person is yet.
But General Ratanish obviously comes up.
He came with at the request of Armand, because when Armand talked to Fern, and she mentioned because during their dance, and that was when she mentioned, "Oh, I come from the Fae."
Right,
which is where Ira came from, the Nightmare King. So he became visibly upset.
Was it FCG or was it Imogen that was reading the mind at this point? They were so many Fae lately. This isn't great. What's going on? Yeah. I don't trust them.
And true, so I think he talked to General Ratanish, who then saw the visage of the Nightmare King. So he's like, take it off. So he ripped it off, and then...
Yeah, so maybe General Thomas doesn't actually know the Nightmare King. He was just doing what the...
I think so.
Kind of
take this off. You were in the presence of Rama, whatever,
Here's what, again, being novice to the D&D world, I thought it was so cool that they had a fist fight. So there was no weapons or nothing. I'm not sure, fresh me have to use some magic, but has that ever happened before?
That's happened in every campaign.
I mentioned it before.
Okay, so there you go.
I mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
So
you mentioned in previous episodes.
Talk about what happened in other. Why are they? What happened in the other campaigns? Why was there a fisticuffs then?
Well, in campaign 1, they basically had to. Well, I think it was just a one-off, wasn't it? It was
in. Oh my god, I got the name for it now. It's up to the V.
They don't like magic.
They don't like magic. Okay. Valheim. Not Valheim. That's the game.
Valheim. Come on now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyways, I mentioned this in a previous episode where Grog had to fight. Vasselheim.
There you go.
He had to fight half-orc?
He was a full orc.
Yeah. And anyways, this guy was the champion of the ring in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And Grog already had the crap kicked out of him by him in an earlier episode, so then he wanted a rematch.
Yeah.
And it went well.
It went well. It was brutal. It was fun listening to but basically the first fight, Grog lost.
Horrifically. It was quick.
Yeah, and the second fight, the guy did some training. So the first time it was just a full-on bare knuckles brawl. The second time the guy was doing some monk looking stuff.
So in this instance, as we know, speaking of Grog losing, Ashton also loses.
Shit kicked out of him.
I would like to say he doesn't get his ass handed to him.
Got his ass handed.
You think so?
He got his ass handed.
He started out good. And I was like,
fair.
He could do it. And then
he
but here's the thing. But here's the thing. Something that even you, as a DM, said you never really seen it before. He's a barbarian, but he's almost like a fire barbarian, this General Britannia.
Yeah.
Like, what's your take on that? Like, what is it?
So, I was wondering what that was, and there's different... there is a kind of barbarian that you feel like... I think it's a desert... I can't remember the name of it now, but I think there is one that kind of like an aura effect kind of thing. I don't know if there's one...
It's a totem, isn't it?
It might be, yeah, there's a totem barbarians. I can't think of it now, but I know there's some that do have... like area around them effects. It still seems not quite right to me, but
I'm not totally sure because when I played Findle in the first campaign that I played, he was a Firbolg barbarian. He was a totem of the eagle, so he was able to see for miles.
Yeah.
So that was his thing. So I'm wondering. I'm trying to remember because there's I think 8 or 10 of these totems. So I'm wondering if one of these totems is something that can allow him to be like, well, I can have an aura effect. There is something that I remember. I can't remember if it was a weapon that I got or if it was a class feature along this where you could choose what kind of damage you could use. I can't remember if that was a glove that I actually got or if it was something that was part of it. And
but he wasn't choosing one or the other. He was doing additional fire damage on top of punching him.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. I'm wondering if before, like Matt was just like, okay, General Britannia is going to use fire for this.
Yeah. But so that guy, he completely... We also found out that Ashen learned he cannot do his abilities without a weapon and a focus to do his things in.
Right.
So now, that's when Taliesin was like, fuck.
Yeah, but even... Okay, so right there, the fight happens, Ashton loses. However, General Britannia does admire him for his gusto, his guts.
Like Lord Estrosh just kind of fight. It was, you've passed my test, kind of.
Yeah. So we had this. So at this point, we had the fight happening outside. We have Lady Emoth gearing up for whatever she's doing, and right in the middle, we have Cyrus once again getting the attention of new characters were introduced. Gus and Ollie. I'm not sure if we get their names in the episode, but that's okay. They are known as the Green Seekers, which, from what I gather, is more like FBI or like private investigators of this
True Detective.
This Marquette Drusar world, and they're aware of everything that our group has been doing and all these anomalies that have been taking place. So I think that's pretty cool. So while all that's going on, now everything starts to settle down. All of our group comes back together once again, and that is when we. Yeah, except for one, and that
doesn't make it back.
That's right, and that is when we see Lady Emoth reveal her new true form, which is, like we said, the Duggar, slime, gooey.
So lots of little guys like carrying what looked like a sack or something like that. Like, so, I honestly thought Cyrus was dead there, chopped up in little bits, and was being carried off.
Oh no, he's still alive and well. But Lady Emoth seems to be I call it a little bit evolved, more educated version of Duggar. Seems like she's more in control of her gooiness and whatever she's turning into.
She's vile creature.
But now, one by one, the team gets together and fights her. And the battle goes again. We see these shade creepers once again,
they come out of her body.
Yeah,
which is the weird part.
That's a new thing.
No, Duggar did one.
Duggar did one.
He did one. Out of his back or something.
It was like, and it came out of him.
But once again, once the battle, as our heroes do, they defeat her for the time being. She skitters off.
Yeah, on the ceiling.
On the ceiling.
Oh God!
And she heads down another tunnel.
Yep.
Okay.
But what does she say?
Oh, is it mother will help me, or like
she
mother?
Yeah, she will help me.
She will help me. No, right, not mother. She will help me.
And one good thing to take away from this fight is I think we get the official name for our group.
Yeah, Imogen gives it out.
Imogen, and it is
Bell's Hells.
Bell's Hells, which first, and please call me stupid. No, don't do that. But I thought it was just instead of Hell's Bells, it was Bell's Hells.
Well.
But that's not the full reason I realized after.
Yes.
Because Bertram Bell, they're Bell's Hells. I put that together after.
I love Travis's, I'll say, the last night when they were drinking before Bertram died.
Yeah.
He was literally throwing out, what?
Didn't he mention Bell's
He was throwing out the different names, because he kind of like Bertrand's,
Bertrand's Bells.
Not Bertrand's Bells, but he had the Sorcerer's Swords and like that. Yeah. And they were like, he started throwing out like Bertrand names for that, and then he died, so they were all like, well, we have to fucking honor him. Yeah. And I was like, this is fantastic.
Yeah. And it works anyways, because like all the other, Vox Machina was that, so what it was.
Yeah.
But the Mighty Nine worked well. It's a nice one it's short, quick, and to the point. Mm-hmm. So Bell's Hells works.
And that's right. So we got the name, and you know what? It makes you feel like they have come together now. We're at the point where this is a group of heroes. We're starting to be. But unfortunately, and this is a sad part for me, this is one of the saddest parts, as the team just comes together. Well, we know now that Cyrus Wyvern Wynn, Dorian's brother, is being tracked by the Green Seekers, is being in with Lady Emoth, who probably has some insight. He got a bounty on his head. It's become too overwhelming. And unfortunately, Dorian, a.k.a. Robbie Damon, sorry. I keep saying Draymond. Robbie Damon, we found out that his story is concluded right now. And he's going to take his brother, and unfortunately, he exits the show for the time being. Yeah, I know for me, it was emotional. Like, I texted you guys in our chat group, and I was like, OMG, this is the worst episode, but yet the best episode ever. And... what were your thoughts when he departed? Like, what were you thinking?
I saw it coming.
Did you?
When they did the whole thing and they were like, well, we could try this. And I was thinking in the back of my head, there's only one way this can work. Mm-hmm. And I don't even think that Dorian suggested it. It was Eshtarash, I think, says, like, you're going to have to go.
Yeah, because they're looking for someone that matches your description. Yeah. So either...
It's either going to go after Cyrus or it's going after you. So either both of you are going to die or one of you is going to die.
So, a question as I asked in last episode, do you think Robbie knew that was coming in that episode?
Yes. I think he did.
You think there was some forewarning?
He was a guest star, and he made it through 14 episodes, which was longer than I was thinking.
But he is going to return.
I did want him to stay.
There has been mentioned in the forums or whatever.
But there's a new one shot.
It's a 2-shot.
Exandria Unlimited, they're doing a 2-parter with him and his brother, which I don't know if he's going to be an NPC.
I don't know how it's going to work. Is Robbie going to be...
Well, there could be a new big role player, right? It could be a new person.
Yeah, they didn't mention someone else as we guest starring as well.
So Joe Manganiello. Come on!
It's not Joe Manganiello, unfortunately.
But that does clue up episode 14. And before I go any further, just want to say thanks, Robbie, for everything you did for the show so far. And we do hope you come back if you ever see this video. All right. But from there, we move on to episode 15. So we've got over the emotional turmoil of Robbie leaving. The group picks back up, and they have the Green Seekers on their heels. Now, they go to Esteros again first. They get home from the party, and they clue up and all that stuff. But we have Chetney is still paying everyone back with the wooden figures and everything like that.
Well, he lost one of them.
Well, he lost one of them, the floating shit.
And they did succeed in the ball with giving Armand the ring.
Right, so the ring
is switched. Eats the original one.
Yeah, so does that decompose now, or is that just sit in his stomach for later?
He eats copper, and the metal was all decomposing inside of him. So he does digest metal somehow.
An automaton can't do that. There's something to him.
Yeah. There's also, so then they process, Lady Emoth obviously has a bigger part. This is when Ashton, I believe, steps forward and he's like, okay, Giona Hexam, who you guys have not met, offered me this job. Do we want to do it again? Adding another
Giona
Hexam.
I was like, wow, they
Giona
went
Hexam
into the Marvel book.
But then, so that's adding another element of where this story could go. But as I said, once they clue up and the Hells leave Lord Estras's after the party the next morning after they're all rested and whatnot, the Green Seekers meet up with them once again and they say, all right, we've had enough of your actions going on, shenanigans.
Cone of silence.
And he goes, cone of silence. Has that ever been used in a
I've actually never heard of that spell. No. I've heard the silence spell, which means no noise, but not...
The cone of silence is something from Get Smart. Yeah. That's from the old show where they basically had these tubes that come down and you can't hear what they're saying anyway. So he's modified it, I guess, for a D&D perspective.
Yeah, it's a modified version of the silence spell. Instead of like no noise in that space, it's no noise inside that space can leave it, but you can talk inside.
So we do have... So with the Green Seekers are Ollie, who is a female gnome. We have Gus, who is a male half-orc. So I imagine their stature is quite complimentary there, but
nothing like we haven't seen.
But they have a presence. But they've been. We find out they've been hard to look around Dressar about all these comings and goings and why has everything happened all of a sudden. And the Hells have got their interest.
Because they've been to every single location.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I'm sure these guys have been in the shadows. We're just seeing about them now, but they've been in the shadows. So, from the outside looking in, like, what do you think they've been? Do you think they think they're good guys, bad guys? Are Hells, that is?
Well, I mean, I assume that they would look at it as like, well, you're a common denominator.
If they were the number one suspect when they first came over.
But and the good thing is though, they know of the Shade Creepers. They know of Duggar. Like, it's not like
they only have a little bit of, but they only have parts of the information.
They're filling in the gaps, right? from there, they do know that. Well, that's when they start to decide we got to check underneath these spires here because the tunnel's going. And Gus, I think it is, has a old love. Yeah, an old love interest. Now, I do want to touch on. They obviously use a bit of representation here because obviously he is gay with this character. Has that ever been done in a Dungeons and Dragons before? Yeah. Oh, is it? Okay. I'm just asking. I don't know.
Orem is gay.
Oh, is he?
Orem had a husband.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Orem's husband was killed.
Sparking conversation.
During the...
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, that was part of the reason why he's part of this, because I'm pretty sure his husband was killed during the attacks with the acid.
I know Vax is bisexual, because...
Yeah, well, I know.
Gilmore
you guys told me that.
Yeah,
you told me that when Vox Mach on
Plus,
Amazon Prime.
in the previous campaign, Bo and... oh my god. Yasha.
So and Ashton identifies as them. He's he, them.
True. Yeah. Okay, so again, I'm just learning myself. From there, though, he does use his, well, even though they're a bit sour with each other, he manipulates his old relationship to get into the mines, who are funded or ran by the, I guess, Underrush family, which, again, adds yet another dynamic of where this story could go. But they know they have to go underground. Mm-hmm. So once they get past, they let them into the mines, which have been shut down by, I think, the Armand Treshy family or Mihan family, one of the two.
I can't remember who trusted.
And we take an elevator for a deep dive ride down into where, for me, it was long awaited because I was like, they got to go down these tunnels at some point.
We did also get to see a little bit of Gus and what all they can do, because they did... they broke a guy's finger while interrogating him and then charmed him, and he can reset it. And he was and he was like, and then he charmed him using the friendship or whatever kind of thing. And he was like, thanks for fixing this kind of thing. And he left him alone.
And then, so we had that. The elevator goes down, and one of the biggest telltales is Chetney once again starts getting a whiff of what he smelled around Lady Emoth.
Yeah,
gross.
So I think this was a great build up to I think Matt was like, the viewers know what's coming.
Yeah.
The characters know what's coming. But once we get there...
I just got going down in the elevator just reminded me, or at least gave flashbacks of the Underdark from Campaign 1. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Right? We show up, they go hundreds of feet underground, and... more shade creepers, but in a bigger capacity. Yeah, there's cocoons on the wall,
swarming like on the walls, ceiling, crawling towards them.
So I felt like the vibe I got is we have now entered a nest. That's what I took away.
So they mentioned Alien Matt. They actually make that comment as well to Matt Mercer in the game, and he said, "Where do you think I got inspiration from?" Yeah.
But once again, so they have the smell.
And there's a couple big ones too. There aren't just like the little.
No, yeah, there's different sizes. So that's what I'm saying.
One's like Lord Emoth or another Duggar.
Right. So you that's what I'm saying. So you're getting close to the hive or the nest or whatever we want to call it. But once again, they send in Chetney. He's invisible. He does his thing, and
after killing a fuck ton of them.
We
learned that
dispose of the shade creepers.
Yeah, we learned that Gus can cast Fireball, and so he's some kind of wizard or sorcerer or something like that.
Yep. We now. Once again, I think it was Gus cast Fireball to illuminate the room. We find...
Yeah, because
it was an attack.
Chetney snuck into the room invisible, and he saw the big pillar in the middle where with Lady Emoth, who was
doing
in a cocoon kind of thing coming out of it.
Yeah.
And then she noticed him. Yeah. We don't really know, but kind of hinted at it. So he went back, and they were like, "We're gonna go in and just fuck her up," kind of thing. And then,
when they get in there. They enter the cave, and Lady Emoth is there, but there's a bigger embodiment.
That's the next chamber.
No, that's what I'm talking about. Now they've entered into the next chamber.
Where Lady Emoth was. They go in and Chetney rushes through.
Because the fireball, when it illuminates, Lady Emoth is no longer there.
Exactly, yeah.
So we enter the second part of the cavern, which is much larger, and they start to see a body and something coming out from above.
Yeah, 60-foot long slug.
And from what I remember, Lady Emoth puts her hands up and she says, "This is Mother." And then she says, "We have company." And that's where episode 15 ends and leaves us with...
Once again, fucking mad.
But
it's not just Lady Emoth there. There's two figures hunched over a table underneath this giant slug thing.
Yeah.
And we just see, Lady Emoth referring to Mother. This big thing is Mother.
Yeah. Which Matt doesn't go into the description much when we first see it. He just kind of touches on. It's not until I guess next episode we'll find out what she actually looks like, right? But
basically a giant 60-foot slug is the description we got.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, this is going to be
with some kind of body and hands at the end, but we don't really know.
But from what they've went through with Duggar and what they went through with Lady Emoth, they're going to have a time. Like, is this going to be a battle they might have to run from? Is what I'm wondering.
Nah.
No, you think so?
If it's a slug, I don't know.
I just picture acid and acid burn. Yeah.
I'm hoping that they do have two NPCs with them, so the fact that they have Gus and Ollie, maybe that's the balancing act that Matt gave them.
There you go.
But or at least a way for them to get out.
But guys, that's episode 11 to 15. I mean, we're just barreling through this campaign. What's your thoughts from 11 to 15? What do you think of this storytelling all the way from the Nightmare King to the Mother, like
every
full circle?
5 episodes, like 1 to 5, slow start, trying to figure out our footing.
Yep.
There was a death, blah, blah.
Yep.
Then episode 6 to 10, we introduced a new character. Things really start to hit off.
Yep.
And then there's more planning, there's more action. And then from 11 to 15 in this, it was just like, it's just everything's being thrown at us.
Yeah.
But there's only one episode where it was kind of confusing. Everything else still kind of falls into place. So I think we've kind of hit our stride with this.
Yeah.
And Matt, like I said, what we mentioned earlier with the 13 and the ball, is that Matt ran an absolute masterclass on DMing and being able to control and keep aware of all of the characters that he's got going at once and just...
And the good thing, I think, and maybe you can contest to this too, is that he's already world built in the first 10 episodes, but now he's mentioning places that we have heard of before. He's mentioning people that we have heard of already in this campaign. So we're piecing it together. And like you said, the story is moving more fluently. So what do you think of episode 11 to 15? Like, are you getting that vibe? Is there anything else you take away from that?
I'm really excited because, like you said, episodes 11 and 15 was like chaos and like so many things happening. That's because in the first 10 episodes everything was being pieced together. They had so many different like storylines are all now culminating into this one big conspiracy basically. But honestly it was fantastic. Episode 13 again, we talked about it so much, but it was fantastic.
Speaking of conspiracy, actually that's where it leaves me off after these episodes, is like once this Mother and conspiracy is concluded, where do we go from there?
Yeah. Right? I want to know how many people...
They're going to do Ashton's.
You think so?
Yes.
Well, is it just Lady Emoth that's been replaced? Is it like other hierarchy people that are been replaced as well? Like, where does it end?
And the only way for us to know is we will be watching episodes 16 to 20, and that is when you'll catch us back here on Critical Reroll for you guys to do another 5-episode breakdown. We do thank you for tuning in today. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if you love Critical Reroll and what we're doing here in these breakdowns. Did you guys have fun today?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm starting to have fun.
All right, nice. All right, guys, once again, I'm the Reel Jussy.
I'm Peter Parkour.
I'm JustZack.
And like we always say around here, keep it real.